After driving across the country to Tucson a month prior, the medical school rotation which motivated the trip came to an end. My last day was a Friday, and I had another rotation starting the next Monday in Salt Lake City. So I packed up my car and headed north through Arizona and Utah on what would end up being the most memorable drive of my life. This is that story in photos. So similar to my drive between Lexington and Tucson a month prior, this drive again was motivated by the need to get from one medical school away rotation to the next. And similar to the drive a month prior, I had 2 days to do it. This time though, the drive wasn't quite as long. Lexington to Tucson was about 28 hours of drive time. Tucson to Salt Lake City was about 12 hours. And similar to that drive a month prior, I made no plans regarding hotels, how long I'd drive, where I would stop to eat. I was going to worry about that as I went. But before that, I was determined to spend my last night in Tucson the same way I had spent the first, with a hike up Gates Pass for views of the most beautiful sunsets I had ever seen. And so after we had watched the sunset, we hiked back down, stopped for some dinner, and went to bed. In the morning, I woke up early and got everything packed in my car. And then a little after 9 a.m., I got on the road towards Salt Lake City. The drive north through Arizona was somehow even more beautiful than I had expected it to be. As you drive north, the scenery changes from the typical Sonoran desert scenery to more of a wide open plains, and as you get into northern Arizona, you encounter coniferous forests and tree-covered mountains, and it was truly unlike anything I had seen personally. As I'd started out this morning, I kind of made the decision to just get to Salt Lake City in one day, but still, I was determined to make a few stops along the way. The absolute top priority was a stop at the Grand Canyon. I had never been there before, and so I had no idea what to expect. And so I used my National Parks Pass, found a parking spot, and then went on a short walk around the South Rim Trail. As I took my first looks at the Grand Canyon, I was completely and totally overwhelmed. If there's ever been a place whose beauty simply can't be described and simply can't be captured in photographs, it's the Grand Canyon. Any sort of two-dimensional medium simply cannot capture the scale. Everywhere you look, there's a staggering vista that defies belief. I was only planning on spending about an hour here, which sounds crazy, I know, but I ended up spending about 2.5 hours, which of course put me behind schedule, but I simply did not care. I couldn't look away. Eventually, and regrettably, I had to stop my exploration of the south rim of the Grand Canyon and get back in the car. And so I drove around the South Rim and out the eastern exit through Page, Arizona. And it was at this point that I realized that I had forgotten to eat, essentially all day. And so it was as I was coming into the outskirts of Page, Arizona, that I realized how hungry I was. And so, wanting to stop at somewhere reliable and predictable, I stopped at McDonald's and got some chicken nuggets to refuel. And it was actually in the parking lot of this McDonald's that I snapped one of my favorite photographs ever, a beautiful Arizona sunset silhouetting this electrical transmission tower. After I'd wolfed down my chicken nuggets, I got back on the road, but my progress was quickly interrupted. I drove across this bridge, and I wanted to get out and look at it. And so just past the bridge, I pulled into this little parking area. But what I didn't realize was I had pulled into the parking area for the Glen Canyon National Recreation Area Visitor Center that overlooks the Glen Canyon Dam. And so I got out of my car and walked around the visitor center to this viewing platform and was simply shocked at the beauty that was before me. I looked out over Lake Powell, and again, being July, we were in the heart of monsoon season, and this distant thunderstorm rumbled off in the distance and sent down flashes of lightning that lit up the sky. Before too long, I felt the pull of needing to make progress down the road, and so I got back in my car and headed on down the highway. At this point, I had been on the road for nearly 10 hours and hadn't even made it halfway through what was supposed to be a 12-hour drive. I hadn't even crossed the border into Utah yet. But that really didn't worry me. I was just along for the ride and knew I would make it whenever I did. In any case, I continued north through Utah and eventually made it to the outskirts of Salt Lake City at about 2 a.m. The trip had taken an unexpectedly long time, but was truly the most memorable drive of my life.